Hello! Today we are looking at the HappyModel Moblite HDZero. It is a little whoop size quad from HappyModel obviously, and it uses HDZero, so we can go ahead and use the HDZero goggles. And if you watched my review of the HDZero goggles, you would have seen some of this thing flying already. Now, what I did in that video, I didn't do any setup. Literally, I just made sure my Express LRS receiver would work with it, and I set up the modes. I left everything default. So I wanted to come back and sort of work through it properly and find out what's going on. This was very kindly supplied by my friend Gaff over at YourFPV, and there's links down below. You can check his shop out, especially useful if you're in the UK and you want to get stuff quickly. In this little box, there's not an awful lot. We get the quad itself, and there is barely nothing to it. That little 1S HDZero board is tiny. There's still space in there to put something else. This also has an SPI based Express LRS receiver, so that's reasonable range. I mean, it's not ELRS range, but it's way better than the FreeSky based SPI receivers. That's the quad itself. Elsewhere in the box, you get this little replacement canopy. You get a couple of stickers, a couple of bits and bobs there, including the connector to the HDZero VTX, so you can upgrade the firmware in that, which I will be doing. To go with that, Gav also sent me a couple of pretty cool batteries. These are the Tatoo 1S450s, the Dogcom 1S450, and this one here called the Onbo 450 with the quite large lead. Unfortunately, this is a little bit too thick and doesn't quite fit in the quad. I'm sure it's a good battery, it just won't fit in this particular 1S one, unfortunately, so we can't really look at that one. First thing to do, let's get this up on Betaflight, and what I want to do is update the firmware straight away, because I did fly with it before, and because it was on Betaflight, I want to say 4.3 something, it means that's tied into Express LRS version 2. In order to go to Express LRS version 3, it ties into Betaflight, so you need to go, I think, 4.4 plus. I'll check that, but let's hook it up and see what we got. There's one slight annoyance with this quad straight away. It's the fact that they've sort of hidden half of the USB socket behind the plastic frame. So you have to kind of get your USB cable and sort of move it out of the way in order to connect it, which is not perfect, but you know, it's doable. Okay, so let's connect into Betaflight and see what we've got. Yes, the quad is upside down at the moment because well, the way the USB cable fits in, you haven't got much choice there. Anyway, this is currently running 430, which means we are on Express LRS 2 dot something. I just want to see what the configuration is. As you see, the UARTs are full. We've got 2 for MSP, as I suppose that's how it talks to HDZero. And we've got smart audio there. Configuration wise, there's not too much going on. Some bits and bobs to change here, not too much. Power and battery kind of makes sense. Yeah, the failsafe is just going to be drop. Presets doesn't seem to have any. PID tuning. Now I might go back into the PID tuning because I did have problems with the throttle being a little bit sensitive, especially sort of just in between kind of hover. You move up just a little bit more and it goes kind of crazy. Receiver, we are based on Express LRS, so that's fine. The modes, I did set up my modes. I just basically put an arm, angle, air mode, and flip for turtle mode. And there's not much else going on. We've got motors, and we are using bidirectional D-shot, so that's something. Obviously, I want to have a mess around with the OSD because I do not like the positions of stuff. VTX. I've never looked at VTX stuff for HDZero. It looks like it uses sort of regular smart audio and stuff to set it, which is interesting, I think. So that's something easy to set up at least. Sensors, debit logging, all the rest of it's fine. What I'm going to do basically is dump out the configuration, save it, update the firmware, and reapply it and make the changes I'm going to. So let's do that next. So one thing I just found out about this Crazy Bee 4 SX1280 board is the boot button is not very accessible.
And if it won't go into DFU mode, which this one won't, if we try and load the firmware and then say flash, it will just say contact bootloader failed. If you get that, and I notice this doesn't seem to work with everything, but this one's okay. Go to CLI, type BL for bootloader, and it will come up in DFU mode, and from there you can go ahead and update your firmware happily. Just like that. Now, as I mentioned, I was just going to restore the CLI dump I did, but I noticed we had on the HappyModel site an actual dump for 442 for this, so I thought I'd download that, restore that, and go from there. Now, although I said I was going to 4.4 so I could use my regular radios and Express LRS version 3, the other important thing on HD is you can use the HD video format, which gives you access to all the widescreen. Otherwise, you're sort of stuck in the middle part of the screen with sort of a regular format, like it's an analog camera, but it's not. Now, after doing all those updates and turning things on, I thought, hang on, something's wrong here. And yeah, the camera's gone back to 4.3 somehow. And initially, I could not find out how to change that until I eventually found the stick commands. And if you hold the left stick over to the right, you will enter the camera menu. And from here, you can change a bunch of stuff. And amongst other stuff, the video mode, which for some reason had reset to 4.3. So I thought, I know, I'll change that to 16.9. So I chose 16.9 full. I just had a quick look what was through there. Saved that, went out, and that looks horrific. So I guess the normal thing to do is to use the 16.9 cropped. And if we go back to cropped, then it looks normal again. So yeah, cropped it is. I initially screwed up my smart audio config, and that's when I found you could also enter its own VTX mode by the sticks sort of diagonally towards you. So you don't have to use smart audio in this, you can set it up all through the stick commands, which is quite handy to know.
Okay, so let's try this again. I have tried to get this tame for the house. So we've got a throttle rate of 60%, or throttle limit of 60% I should say, and a throttle expa 35%, just to try and keep it a little bit calmer. The accelerometer keeps sort of, you can just see it's slightly off. It wants to go to the left a bit. I've got that completely flat, but the board must be just not quite aligned within the frame. It is a sort of, you know, weird little plastic frame, but it is a lot more easily manageable inside now, I'm glad to say. So we are outside. The sun has come out. It's been raining and gales for the last couple of days, so it's nice to get out here. Let's try the torch test once again, mainly to see if I can just be a little bit more stable here. Yeah, that's not bad. You can see it wanting to pull to the left a bit, but we can come and get round that hopefully. Coming along. Let's go through the little pagoda if we can. Yeah, you will notice this is a lot slower than I'd normally fly, and that's kind of the point. I'm trying to see if this is more tameable for inside, and it is. It's the most powerful 1S quad I think I've come across. What's interesting here is there's lights. There's obviously natural light here, as you can see, and outside was, you know, nice natural light. But the hallway up the stairs in the lounge, you can see it's kind of dark there. It's not getting much natural light through. But this camera's pretty good. If I go in there, you can see that it lights up the room really nicely. So if we come down here now, plenty more light here, but upstairs is really quite dark. Let's give it another look. So you've got the very bright light coming through there. So if we go up here, this is quite dim here, and it looks a little bit noisy, but you know, fairly good. And you've obviously got quite a bright light in my office here, and that's looking pretty good, I think. Anyway, this is the Tattoo, and I think it's going to be good for about 3 minutes. Let's just do another quick lap since we've got a little bit more guts there to do stuff with. Let's go a little bit quicker. They're a bit more used to it.
Oh yeah, much more controllable now. I've got this throttle limit on. It's very rare that 1S has just got this much oomph. It's really quite quick. So we're at 3 minutes. We've still got 3.4. I mean, 3.3 is the friendly place to take it to. Really, I mean, tattoos have got a very good reputation, and this is looking quite nice. So yeah, I'm pretty happy overall with this flight. Let's mend it, and we still get a little bit more in the pot there. But let's try one of the Dogcom batteries, see how that goes. Okay, so what I was doing in that video is recording the commentary live with the little microphone that I've plugged in. You'll notice a few breath noises and a little bit of distortion, but I think it's fairly good to at least get live commentary. This one I'm obviously doing a voiceover. I just want to say this is the Dogcom battery. The Dogcom didn't do quite as well. They got about 3 minutes going around the inside, but I did have this weird problem which I'll show you here, which is where the DVR seemed to cut out and come back in. I didn't notice anything happen. I just noticed I had 2 files and there was a little bit missing in the way. Not quite sure what happened there, but it seems to be absolutely flying fine inside. I don't know if that's just a thing where it felt it didn't have a right signal and then cut off and then went back in, or something else happened. But anyway, that is the Dogcom. Not as good as the Tattoo, but a pretty good battery. Well, hello, here we are in the woods. We got the little quad with us, we got the stuff to fly it, and it looks pretty nice. But in the UK, it's been sort of torrential rains and gales for the past week. As a result, everything's a bit wet. There's big puddles. I've got to try generally not to crash it, and I'm not exactly sure what the range is like on a little SPI ELRS receiver. I think it's okay for here, but I haven't really tried HDZero sort of going behind trees and stuff. It coped okay around the side of the alley, which is a bit of a torture test. So I'd be interested to see. I'm going to start very carefully, because if this goes down, the beep is very, very quiet, and I don't want to lose it. So we'll start off slow. We'll see if we can pick up momentum if we get going a bit. But we've got some lines, you know, down here, up that bit there, and, you know, round the trees behind me and stuff, and we'll see how well we can see little bits of scraggle and stuff. I should say that a couple of little differences for outside. I've angled the camera back up. I'm obviously going to be using the rate profile without any throttle limit, so it's full throttle, and of course I'll be flying an acro, which is the only differences really. Anyway, let's get flying. And we are flying. Let's have a quick look at my link quality and RSSI as I do this. It's absolutely fine. More than enough to get out and onto the main path. Definitely sparkly though, I have to say. I'll tell you what I'm doing, I'm flying the wrong mode, aren't I? I'm still in rate profile 1 here. It's really not going to help me too much. But this is, I suppose this is alright. It gets me the idea of how far I can go. Certainly the camera angle helps get a bit of speed up, so that's all good. Yeah, SPI receiver for ELRS is a good thing. I mean, we've still got full link quality and a decent RSI figure, and yeah, the goggle stuff seems to be doing alright as well. So this is a nice little test one. Oh, that teaches me to do that in the wrong mode. What I was thinking to myself there is, oh, well, I haven't got as much. Actually, I got a slightly different rate on my rate profile in terms of how quickly it will flip. So what happened is I neither had the speed to flip or the throttle to bring it back again. So let's see if this is better. Okay. That's a bit better. That's where I was going. Whee! So, HDZero HD, definitely very different feeling from my walk snail and stuff. I can see why people kind of call it Analog Plus. It's very close to, oh, hang on, I'm on 3.2 here. I'm just going to bring it in for a landing before I do anything. Oh, I can't find out where my... There it is. I couldn't find my switch to turn air off, but let's see if we can vaguely land it close to me. Oh, this battery's dying. Oh, the battery died. This is the second battery, which I'll just show you part of briefly. What I learned in that first battery is don't let your voltage drop under 3 volts or the VTX will shut down. Now what had happened is I'd basically done those 2 flights indoors and then it wasn't raining for a while and I didn't have time quite to charge them up all the way. So what we're looking at here is a non-full battery. We got about 2.5 minutes out of it. It was another one of the 2s, but it wasn't, you know, a full battery. So I thought I'll show you the full battery of the fully charged Tattoo so you can see what that looked like. Okay, back with a battery showing 4.28. It was charged to 4.35 once again, but you know, get what you can take. Anyway, this one should have a little bit more oomph to it, so let's see if we can manage to get sort of 3 minutes or whatever to it. Let's do a little bit more through that. Come around some of these other trees a little bit further out. Hope for the best. There is lots of like hidden scraggle in these things. I'm not going to go super quick because I don't know where it all is. There's some. Mostly I want to check how well I can see it, which is very useful. One of the problems about a tiny little quad like this is sometimes flying through trees I can orientate myself just by listening to the noise. But where this is so quiet, it's like, where was the noise coming from again? I can't quite hear it. But this is fun. Whoop. Yep, some little bits there. Yeah, that worked okay. Oh, that was a bit high. Ooh, just got out of trouble there. A little bit disorientated coming out of there, and I was like, where am I? I'm up very high, that's not good. Main thing is it survived. Yeah, it flies really nicely outside. Much more manageable than inside. Although I'm fairly happy inside's going quite nicely now. It's just, I can't quite get that accelerometer to get true. Maybe I'll have to do it on the floor using the old stick commands to make it happen and stuff. This is where I feel it's a bit risky. Even, you know, 20 or 30 meters behind yourself, it's like, damn, all the trees look the same. Where am I? But sparkle wise, it's okay. I can see, you know, I've got a constant supply of sparkly video going on, but I'm concentrating more about where I'm going. I'm looking in the center, and that really doesn't give me any big shocks. It just kind of works. Yeah, it's a fun little quad. I can just imagine this as the sort of thing people would like for the sort of the gorilla whooping. You can just arrive somewhere, you can fly this thing around without really being detected and get out quick. I know that seems to be all the rage. Not for me. I'm very law abiding and behave myself at all times. Honest, governor. Yeah, this is so much better on a proper radio. I was going to set this up on the pocket just for the ease of coming out, but I didn't have time. Although it's dry at the moment, within the next hour it's due to rain again, so it's kind of like, get back inside, get this out and flying quickly. What have we got? So, using a bit more throttle, we are starting to drop into the 3.4s, and we got 2.5 minutes. So I still think this is a fully charged Tattoo. These are really nice batteries for this quad. I think Tattoo's always been very good, but as soon as I'm seeing it start to dip into the 3.3 and below, it's like, come home, because I don't want the VTX to turn itself off. Yeah, look, we've just got about 3 minutes there, so that's not bad at all. Oh, I missed again. Damn it. So that was the little Tattoo battery, which I think held up quite well, just under 3 minutes really, what we got there. And the last battery I had was a fully charged Dogcom, and once again I expected this to be not as good because in the house it wasn't quite as good. We got about 30 seconds left, and this was about the same. So I brought it in just after 2 minutes, but we're really looking at maybe a flight time of 2:30 on the outside. But anyway, everything flew pretty well.
Well, this was a lot of fun to fly outside, much more than I thought actually. It's quite acrobatic, it holds itself very well, it doesn't have much of any yaw washout. Only felt a little tiny bit, maybe it was just me or the wind coming in because it's not windless here, but yeah, it did well. I mean, better than indoors. I've tamed indoors down, but it's definitely much more fun to fly in a sort of larger area, I think. So very suitable for your sort of race type whoops and just flying around trees and stuff like this. If you've got a spare 5 minutes and a little park, I'm sure you can just fly this around and no one will bat an eyelid. Anyway, back to the office for conclusions. Didn't she do well? As I said before, I've never found a 1S quad with quite so much oomph. This thing really wanted to go, to the point that I found it quite tricky to tackle it inside and bring the power down. It was still quite tricky to do things like, you know, being smooth and very slow and trying to go like under tables and stuff. I found that quite hard. Really good fun outside though. As I said, with all these quads, if you take them to a big field, that'd be really boring. It'd just be going slowly along the field. Going and finding trees or something to proximity fly around is always going to be a lot of fun with this. Particularly impressed with the little SPI ELRS. That just goes, you know, as far as you would ever go on this sort of quad. HDZero wise, I think it did pretty well. As said, we always see some sort of little sparkle in the air, but the fact was, you know, I could go out round trees. You know, I was in at the 100 metres of myself at all times, but still going around lots of trees and not having any particular problem with, you know, proper breakup or, and again, the latency stayed exactly as it should do, which is what you want from this sort of thing. Now, as mentioned, I did a bunch of stuff with live commentary. I used this little, I think this is about £5 from Amazon. It just sticks in the mic and ear port of the HDZero goggles, and I talked it. What I've learned from that is I probably need to have it a bit far away because it's getting like breath noises and stuff. But I think, I mean, I liked it. You guys have to tell me what you thought, but it gives me a chance to give my actual sort of live impressions as it's happening, rather than me just saying, oh yeah, I flew it around here and here's my sort of voiceover and some clips together, right? It was more interesting for me at least. Anyway, tell me what you guys think. Now, I will fully admit that I much prefer the picture quality I get from something like the Walks Now when flying around, even on a small quad in the trees and stuff. But this did pretty well, and if you watch my video about the HDZero goggles, you can see all the reasons that I really like those goggles for, that some things that Walks Now didn't do. So a very worthy little quad if you're going the route of HDZero or you've already got a set of HDZero goggles. I really enjoyed flying that. Definitely a massive upgrade from analog. Not at the height of what Walks Now and DJI can give you, but of course you've got that absolutely set in stone latency, which feels very much like analog. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, as I said, this is the HappyModel Mob7 HDZero, I think that's what it's called. Kindly supplied once again by my friend Gaff at YourFPV, so don't forget to check him out, especially if you're in the UK, and you can pick this up. There'll be links down below. Also, because I went and chatted away for 6 flights, just chatting into this, you're most welcome to watch the raw flights where it's just me wittering on and flying around. You can see all 6 batteries in one video. I'll put a link down below as well. Anyway, hope that review's been helpful of this little guy, and I will catch you next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.